lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at Check Her Joy. Today I am reviewing Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I listened to the audiobook for this, which was read by the author. This is a novel in verse, so it's narrative poems. It's definitely got a very fast-paced emphasis on it, and it is also not only told in a poetic manner, but also the main character is focusing on like becoming a poet and writing. This is also a young adult contemporary novel. It follows Xiomara, who is one of a set of twins who were born to parents who were much older and basically had given up on having kids. So they're these miracle babies. So Xiomara and her twin, who she mostly just calls twin, they have some very high expectations placed on them to like be good and like behave because like her parents are older. So their parents are immigrants from the Dominican Republic. So Xiomara is an Afro-latina woman that becomes part of this. She's growing up in New York, I think around Harlem, maybe. Definitely in a very Hispanic, African like centered borough, but also like inner city New York. She's dealing with the fact that her mom is very religious and expects Xiomara to also become like religious. Like it's a very strict Catholic family. And she expects Xiomara and twin to both be confirmed and like become part of the church. Her twin has already done this, but Xiomara for various reasons has put it off for like 2 years, and now she's a sophomore in high school going through confirmation with like a bunch of 8th graders. And Xiomara is also one to kind of question everything. So when it comes to religion, she's also asking tons of questions. She's also dealing with expectations that she and her brother have from their like older parents to like be perfect kids. And brother is basically the perfect son. He is good at school. He is well behaved. He doesn't really speak up or cause much problems. He skipped a grade. He got into this elite like school for like science-based kids. And Xiomara is kind of the average student. She's not doing horribly, but she's not doing great either. And it isn't until she gets to her sophomore year and starts taking one of these English classes with a teacher who is kind of pushing poetry. Like the teacher is the advisor for the slam poetry club and is trying to get the kids involved in that. And Xiomara is like, I love writing. This is how she mostly expresses her thoughts, is in this journal that her brother gave her. And so she's interested, but the poetry club takes place at the same time as confirmation class. And so Xiomara is seeing these as like two separate ways she could go, and she really wants to do poetry, and the fact that she's being told she has to do confirmation is not exactly helping. Xiomara is also dealing with like growing up and becoming an adult and having a developing body. In fact, she's already got a very grown-up looking body. She's fully developed and is starting to enter the world and become very aware of like sexual harassment. So much sexual harassment. She gets like calling her on the streets, older guys looking at her, even the boys in her class, like, and she's got like one of those bodies where like girls hate her just because she looks a certain way and making staff decisions based on how she looks. But at the same time, she's only a sophomore. She's only like 15 and she doesn't feel adult and is being expected to act grown up when she still feels like a kid. And she also really wants to know love. She's never been in a relationship. She's never kissed a boy. And her parents are one of those strict families where like you can date when you're married kind of family. So like not even like in college. Keep going kind of thing. So when she starts having a crush on one of the boys in her biology class named Amon, she's kind of like hiding it from her parents while she secretly dates. So those are kind of the external things that are happening around her while she starts developing this love of poetry. So she has this notebook that she got from her brother and she's been secretly writing in. And as she becomes more aware of poetry and like listening to artists, she also listens to like musicians and like rap artists and listens to their lyrics and as a form of poetry also. She is starting to gain confidence in herself as she starts to gain confidence in her writing abilities. She's also starting to question the world around her too, though. As she starts like figuring out what she thinks and what she wants to write, she's starting to process things like how does she actually feel about religion, and like a Catholic religion also that is very much like women are to blame, especially with her body. Like she has to like feel guilt for like, so like there's guilt laid on her for her own sinning, But also, like, there's guilt laden on her for, like, the sinning she's causing other people to do. Because she looks a certain way and is causing guys to have lustful thoughts, like, that's her fault. She's also questioning about, like, the, like, actual reality and literalness of the Catholic Church. And it's like, is this all just metaphors? Is the entire religion just a bunch of metaphors? And her mom is like, stop questioning, just accept it. Yeah. And she basically feels like she needs to be forgiven just for being who she is. Like, being herself isn't enough. She has to be somebody else and act a certain way. And religion is all tied up in that for her. There's also the fact that she's from this Latinx family, this very Hispanic family, that is very focused on relationships with their family, and then, like, how they view the outside world. She's got this mix of, like, being a Spanish-speaking household, in a world that generally wants you to speak and be English. This book is hard to explain because so much is happening in these very, very short period of time, and Xiomara is, like, rifling through and defining her identity so fast. But she's doing all this through, like, through poetry and how that makes her feel and think about the world, and helping her find her voice and finding, like, her very intimate thoughts and, like, sharing them. And she's also the kind of person who, like, beforehand would, like, fight with her fists first, especially if somebody was disrespecting her or her brother. And now she's learning how to fight with her words. Like, her name Xiomara means to fight or something. So her change in perspective and, like, growing up so much throughout this book. I feel like I didn't do this any justice whatsoever, probably. Let me just tell you, that is amazing. I love Elizabeth Acevedo's writing. The poetic form in it, but it's also very narrative. And so as somebody who doesn't really love poetry too much, it's still very welcoming and feels very strongly connected. There's definitely a strong narrative about getting to know Xiomara and who she is and her relationships and, like, who she wants to be as she's sorting things out. Like, there are definite things that feel very relatable about her experience as a teenager and growing into her body and how she feels about, like, the world around her and starting to think about, like, the outside world and think for herself. This is totally a 5-star read. Go read it. It's amazing. It's also really quick. It's like a 4-hour audiobook. Like, just do it. I promise. I love it. I also loved With the Fire on High, which Elizabeth Acevedo also wrote. Also an amazing book with, like, strong lyrical elements to it, although that one is definitely more of a novel in a traditional sense. But yeah, I love Elizabeth Acevedo. She's gotta be one of my favorite authors now. So peace out. I love you all and keep reading. Bye.